Hi, I'm Courtney Wilson, the director of the B&O Railroad Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. We're going to take a look at the museum's HO gauge railroad model layout today. The layout is located in an historic car known as the Chesapeake & Ohio number 725. This car was built by the Pullman Company in 1930 as an imperial salon. Having only 45 roomy bucket seats, later the car was converted in 1949 to a standard passenger coach with traditional bench-style seating. In 1969, the car was retired and sent to the B&O Railroad Museum to be a part of its collection. During the years 2003 and 2004, the museum performed an adaptive use restoration on this car, specifically to house the museum's model railroad layout. Let's take a look inside. Now we're inside the C&O number 725, where the museum's HO gauge layout is located. This layout was designed to be a teaching tool for students and for visitors about how a railroad interacts with a city, a port, with a suburban area, the countryside, and then ultimately out to a manufacturing center and a coal mine. Along the way, you will find signature buildings from the city of Baltimore, notable bridges, important stations along the B&O, and some interesting scenery, people, and things to see. We're going to take you on a walking tour of this layout and hope you enjoy it. Here we are in the downtown area of Baltimore, Maryland, the home of the B&O. We're scanning up one of the signature buildings in Baltimore called the Bromo-Seltzer Tower. And then over to the left, we have the B&O's famous Camden Station. Abraham Lincoln came through this station on a number of occasions. And the B&O warehouse immediately behind it, which is now part of our baseball park, Camden Yards. And we see the signature Baltimore row houses, people on the street. Again, we're scanning the warehouse. And you see a train yard that is actually opposing locomotives and cars that are ready to go through Baltimore's Howard Street Tunnel. Here's the Port of Baltimore, and as everyone knows, railroads and ports, ships and trains go together in terms of shipping goods from America in and out of the country. We have a large container ship, and you'll see the containers on the dock and a crane that is actually lifting the containers off of ships and onto trucks. As we also know, flatbed trucks and container trucks actually move a lot of goods that come off the railroad or out of shipping. Here's a typical container ship with company names that are seen around Baltimore, and a large grain elevator, a replica of one that sits in Baltimore. It has the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad's name on it. Beyond that, we're beginning to get into the outskirts of Baltimore City and into the suburban area. Here we see a railroad trestle, and this layout is so detailed you will see the crossing gates and lights flash as a train is about to approach a grade crossing in a suburban area. And there it comes, a passenger train, classic B&O in its blue, gray, and gold livery from the 1950s. Panning out on the suburban area, we're moving into a little bit more rural area. Here's a farm. We'll see some cows in the pasture, a cornfield. All these are goods that travel on the railroad, and here comes a freight train, a B&O freight train with stock cars moving along the tracks, headed delivering livestock. This is one of the B&O's historic bridges called the Patterson Viaduct, which no longer exists, but was once located between Baltimore and Ellicott's Mills. And here we have Point of Rocks Station out in the Frederick area of Maryland, designed by E.F. Baldwin. It is one of the most picturesque and beautiful stations that existed on the B&O. It is still existing today and is actually a commuter stop on Maryland's commuter railway out towards the west. Here we have again our passenger train moving along the layout underneath an iron trestle. And again, now we're into a forested area where a logging operation is taking place. And as we near the end of the layout, we see the beginning of an industrial plant. This is actually a small steel mill and casting shop. The yard engines move the hot metal and casting materials in and out of this shop to create metal objects, cast iron objects, and to produce steel. And we see B&O coal, of course, from the western regions of Pennsylvania and Maryland in a couple of open coal hoppers there. And off to the left, we're entering the area where a coal mine exists out in western Maryland. B&O, as you know, was one of the first in history to reach the coal mines of western Maryland into western Virginia and then ultimately into Pennsylvania, and it became a staple of its freight operations. And finally, at the end, we get a chance to take a glimpse at the HO Layout's operating system, which is digitally controlled and motion activated. Thank you for taking a tour of the B&O Railroad Museum's HO Gauge Railway Model Layout with me today. For more information on the museum, please go to www.borail.org. We hope you'll come visit us soon.